Welcome. In this video, we're going to dive into reflecting upon your past to see what kind of programming it is that you've taken on and that's getting in the way from you being able to trust yourself to show up fully and authentically. And as we clear these things away and you're able to show up in a more sincere way, you're going to be able to create a sense of safety around you. And you'll notice that in that, it's going to help you to trust other people and create healthier relationships in your life. Showing up authentically entails you expressing your feelings and needs and what you want and what you don't want. And so to be able to do that, you first need to know what your feelings and needs and your preferences are. And you might be somebody who's learned from a young age to put all of your attention onto other people. Perhaps that's how you got love and attention and stayed safe as a kid. I say stayed safe because you need your caregivers to give you love and attention. You're completely dependent upon them. And so if you learned that it was best to focus on what they were feeling and what they were needing and to put your needs aside, then it's hard sometimes to get in touch with what it is that you want and need in your adult age, because unknowingly you've lived out this same pattern from your childhood, even though it doesn't apply now in your adulthood and in your new circumstance of not being dependent upon somebody else to take care of you for your survival. If this sounds familiar, then it's going to take active effort to bring your attention back to yourself. So I recommend that you start reflecting upon what are your feelings and needs throughout the day. You can support yourself in this awareness exercise by setting alarms on your phone as reminders for you to stop and inquire. What is it that I'm feeling right now? What is it that I'm needing? You can print feelings and needs lists from the internet. They're all over the place. You can find them easily so that you can look at it and what is it that I'm feeling? What is it that I'm needing? I do recommend making a couple notes in your phone so that the process is something that doesn't just stay in your head, but you actually articulate and you label what your feelings and needs are. This is something that will help you to develop a more keen sense of self and bring your attention from others and bring it back to here, to you. And if you don't have the space or the interest to do this throughout the day, it's something that you can do in the evening where you will reflect back over the day and see where it is that you stayed true to yourself. Where did you show up authentically? Where did you abandon yourself and fall into people pleasing? Where did you start doing things for other people instead of taking care of your own feelings and needs? So you can reflect back upon the morning, the afternoon, and then the evening. And when you identify those moments where you abandon yourself, that you weren't authentic, that you didn't show up fully, I encourage you to write those down so that you bring an awareness to them. This will help you to be able to prevent from falling into those situations again unconsciously. And then as you do this journal exercise, I also recommend that you write down what would you have done if you did show up authentically, as this is now an exercise to help program your brain to have another solution besides the default mode of always taking care of somebody else and putting their needs ahead of your own and not taking yourself into consideration. So as you become more aware of what your feelings and needs are, it's going to really support you to be able to express them and showing up authentically in the different relationships that you have with people. The next point that we want to inquire into around what's getting in the way of you showing up fully and authentically is uncovering any beliefs that you have around expressing what your feelings and needs are and taking yourself into consideration and, God forbid, even putting yourself first. So if you were to do these things, what does that say about you? What kind of person are you? What kind of person takes the care of themselves over other people? Does it bring up concerns about being selfish or conceited or uncaring or egotistical? These things might not exist at the conscious mind, but you might have to get still as they exist at the unconscious level, and then they express themselves in you abandoning yourself when you come into contact with other people. And by identifying what those beliefs are, if I was to express my needs and make requests and to show up more fully and authentically, what does that mean about you? What does that say about you? And when you label that belief, you can then start to question it. You can look into it. Is that really true? I also encourage you to see where is it that you learned that this was selfish or that it was egotistical to take care of yourself. Was it something that you experienced, so you were shamed or punished for having your own needs? Or was it something that was modeled to you, where you had a parent that was always taking care of somebody else and self-abandoning, and so that you learned that this was the way that people should be? Another way that you can inquire into this is you can also investigate the opposite of this. So when you are putting other people's needs of your own, it's likely that you're doing it because you would like for them to see you in a certain way, or you want them to like you. And this is more of the shadow side of these altruistic actions. And so something that you originally thought was selfless might be a bit more selfish than you thought. And so while you have these beliefs that if I take care of myself, that's selfish, in taking care of other people, there's also a selfish motive behind that. And as you get in touch with this, it's something that can help to give you permission to start taking care of yourself, to taking your needs into consideration and acting upon them, and being more self-honoring and showing up fully and authentically. Another thing to reflect upon of what's preventing you from being able to show up more sincerely is what fears do you have around expressing your feelings and needs? Are you worried that people aren't going to like you, or that they're going to judge or criticize you? At some level, are you worried that they're going to reject you or abandon you? Perhaps as a kid you were punished, or that love was withdrawn when you expressed yourself, and so you learned that it wasn't safe. So to deeper inquire into this, I invite you to list out what it is that you're afraid would happen if you were to put yourself first, or if you were to even make a request to have your needs to be met, to share them, to expose them to other people. When you look at this list, notice if you're having a tendency to go towards the worst case scenario. Now, this might be based on incidents that have happened in your past, and you're continuing to project them onto your future. And if this is happening, just notice that you're putting yourself through so much pain as a means to try to prevent yourself from potential pain in the future. When we bring awareness to how we are putting ourselves through lots of pain to avoid one painful moment, we realize that this is not the best investment of our time and our energy. And it helps us to start to reprogram ourselves and to try to take another action of taking into consideration other possible scenarios. So what else might happen if I express myself? Now, the brain is programmed to avoid pain because of its survival mechanism. But in the process of doing so, it's sometimes causing more pain. And so it's good to bring our awareness to this tendency and then to consciously come up with other possible scenarios. What else might happen when you express yourself? It's perhaps not going to be your default way of thinking, but when you put conscious attention, you can start to alleviate some of that pain that you're constantly putting yourself through to avoid that one painful moment. Another thing that you can do when you look at that list is to test and see the likelihood of it and how true it's going to be if that is actually going to happen. One way that I have found to be very effective to question my beliefs is going through the work of Byron Katie. It's a phenomenal method for helping us to really get in touch with what our fears and stressful thoughts are and finding other ways of thinking. And it's going to take some courage to move through these fears and to start to reprogram yourself. But it's worth it, and it can lead to happier and healthier relationships. I will put in the comments below some resources where you can learn more about the work of Byron Katie. So these are a couple of ways that you can deepen your inquiry into your relationship with trust and programming from your past. As you heal your fears and you remove the beliefs that are holding you back, you're going to be able to show up more authentically and attract healthier relationships into your life. If you like this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that I can continue to support you and inspire you on living full, free, and fearlessly.